Mr. Brad Keselowski, who's a fourth place qualifier. Thanks for coming in, Brad.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you felt out there today.
Yeah, well, we had a pretty decent day. Just didn't quite have enough at the end. I probably tried just a little bit too hard. The track keeps picking up as the night kind of came in, and I think you saw the speeds pick up the last few runs. And I just tried a little bit too hard to get that last little bit of pickup, and wasn't quite there. Probably swung a little bit too hard, but all in all, a really good day for us. A pretty good improvement from where we were last week, and look forward to hopefully showcasing that same improvement in the race. Get another win here in Las Vegas. It'd be really special to add another one to the Las Vegas win pile.
All right, questions for Mr. Keselowski. We'll start with Tom Jensen, then we'll come over to Jeff Gluck.
Hi, Brad. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Ask you the same thing I just asked your teammate. How concerned are you about the wind on Sunday?
How concerned? I haven't thought about it. I try not to get too worried about the things that affect everyone equally, and you can't control or really affect. And I know that's a pretty big list, but the wind is one of them. So I honestly haven't thought about it.
Over here.
Geez, Jeff, you're really incognito over there.
He's got
got a black hat on.
He's got that Phil Knight look going.
Wow.
You know?
Trying to protect myself from sunburn.
Witness protection.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Speaking of the wind, how much, I know there's races where it picks up a lot, but when it's really gusty, how much does that affect the car? How much can you feel it? Is it possible that that could crash you?
Yeah, when we do kind of our morning rounds, race morning, where we talk to race fans, sponsors, whoever it might be, we always talk about the race cars, and we try to explain aerodynamics to them. And so I'll use some of those cliches with you, Jeff. I think of a race car like an upside-down airplane wing. And instead of making lift, it makes downforce. And just by that simple analogy, the cars are, of course, dramatically affected by air. It's hard to explain to people because you can't see it. And, much like trying to explain the Earth is round and not flat without being able to see it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to people. But the wind moves the cars around dramatically, much like every other aerodynamic force. And the cars rely on, three key aero forces, whether it be drag, downforce, or side force, and all three of those it's three-dimensional, right? So that's why it's those three. And the wind, depending on where it strikes, where it blows you in what direction, can affect all three of those. Of course, a headwind down the straightaway can add a lot of drag to a race car and make the motor feel a lot weaker, and a crosswind in a corner can add or take away from the side force on the car. Even to go with that some more is a headwind into the corner can give you a lot of added downforce, or vice versa. A tailwind can take it away. And all three of those effects are hard to explain to people as well, because you would think that if the air hits you blowing one way, that it's X advantage, and that if it hits you the exact opposite way, it's the same disadvantage. If it's X and X, but because aerodynamics are inherently inefficient, it always affects you in a worse manner than it does a positive manner. It's impossible for it to be as helpful on one end as it is hurtful on the other end. And it certainly will add another layer or dimension to the race. But like I said to Tom, I feel like it's one of those things that's equal for everyone. You can't change it. And as it pertains to our car, there's not really anything I know that you can do to lessen its effects. So it's one of those things I think you just got to, pull up your pants and get around it, drive around it.
We'll take a question from David over here. Any other questions for Mr. Keselowski?
Out from the Charlotte Observer. So we're probably drilling down way too much on this. Does the new aero package have any effect with high winds?
I guess theoretically it should be less than what it would have been last year. So I think that's probably a good thing.
Question over here to Bob.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. Do you feel like you have good throttle response here, or are you going so fast that it's going to be difficult to kind of create your own destiny here on Sunday?
The speeds are higher than what we had hoped for, I think, with this package. And as a race car driver, that sounds awful because I always want to go fast, right? But knowing that I'm more than a race car driver, I'm also kind of half entertainer. And we want to be able to put on the best race for our fans. High speeds don't necessarily make the best racing. But I would caution against reading too much into that at this time, because from testing we did yesterday and in the months prior with the Goodyear tire test, we did see a lot of fall off in the cars. And although I would say there's very little throttle response right now, once the tires fall off, there's more than enough. So the key is really getting into that tire fall off. And, you know, I'm pretty certain that we're going to see that, and it'll take care of itself, and we won't have those concerns.
Question here.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. Brad, was the fall off any similar to Atlanta? Worse? A little less?
It's hard to ever get the fall off that Atlanta has, but I think you'll get a good portion of it, probably at least 50 or 60%.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Brad. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.